Welcome back to Radio Entrepreneurs. I'm Jonathan Freedman, joined alongside Marc Z, as always, bringing us a Marc Z moment. How are you today, Marc?
Good to see you, John.
Excellent. I should have mentioned Marc Z of Marc Z Legal Staffing, but everybody knows who you are, Marc, and we know how to find you. But you'll tell us at the end. But how you do? You said you're doing
I'm,
well. Good to see you.
it's great to see you. I hope all is well. I'll tell you, this year is already moving forward very quickly.
Well, the gray hairs prove, at least on me, that they prove that things move quickly. So that's what happens. So we've got always interesting and timely and topical items for us. What do you have today?
Well, what I thought I would talk about, John, is the decision-making process in terms of if you're an employee or an employer. It's really changed a lot, even in the last 6 months and even sooner. For example, we've had cases that employers have said to us, we want to schedule somebody for an interview, and the person is scheduled, and they said, we don't have any time this week to schedule them for the interview. And then the next thing we know, the employer makes a decision and cancels the interview. The same thing with candidates. Candidates will set up interviews. I can't do something until next week, and all of a sudden, we keep touching base, and all of a sudden, the candidate makes a decision. So, what I want to make of note is we're not in a market anymore where companies, organizations will wait, and candidates will wait. If you're scheduling an interview with an employer that you're interested in, you have to move, even
Move
though you
while
want
the
to be
iron's hot.
flexible. You've got to move quickly. And if what we found is, unfortunately, in some candidates, they can't make times, even though you ask, um, until quote later. And same thing with clients. They say we just can't make not only decision, or we can't meet people, but somehow decisions come quicker on each
So,
side.
so it's
And
interesting. It's interesting, Mark, just to interject for a moment, because it seemed to me we're in a little bit of a hiring slowdown. But what you're saying would indicate that there's activity going on and a lot of activity on both sides. The examples that you cite, the first one with the employer, I get, maybe they were talking to other candidates, found somebody they liked, didn't want to go through, the full process and interview all prospective candidates. And on the prospective employee side, it just speaks to me that there are opportunities out there, which is a good thing. Um,
absolutely, no, absolutely. What in both cases, to clarify, you have people in advanced rounds. So one thing is if you've begun the process and you're making a decision, it's not like you're bringing in new candidates, or it's not like the person has been there just one time.
mhm.
It's someone who's a candidate who's been at the firm, and they've gone through the process and they have one more round, say. And the same thing with with the client, with the company or organization that's hiring. They also are in advanced rounds. But both the organization, company, and the individual are prepared to make a decision even before. Before, maybe they would wait, maybe they wouldn't wait. Now there's no waiting on either side. And
What do you
so
what do
my
you what
point
do you think's
is,
driving it? What do you think's driving that? What do you think's driving
I
the,
think there's the
sort of
understanding, if it clicks with um, the individual who's interviewing, or if it clicks with the organization, with the particular candidate they're meeting with, they don't want to take any chances. They want to put their best foot forward. And why why wait? Nobody knows about timing. Nobody knows what's going on. So
Yeah, it's interesting because Mark, I've been well, not directly in your shoes as a recruiter, but certainly in our day roles as consultants involved in the decision making process and or interviewing, hiring, etc. And I often find, and maybe it's just my style, is very open. Be direct with people. There's two candidates. There's a number of candidates. You're the only candidate. Obviously you don't want to give away too much. But by the same token, being open and honest with people, they're going to make a decision in the next couple of days means the next couple of days. It doesn't mean today. It doesn't mean 3 weeks from now. Are you
Right.
finding that people are a little holding the cards maybe a little tighter to the chest and not letting people know what the details are because that may change the negotiation, the edge in terms of negotiating? I guess from my perspective, I find if you're open and honest with people, it helps to at least get everybody on the same page and there's not a lot of disappointment. It would seem to me if somebody says, "Hey, we're going to make a decision in the next week," and then 24 hours later the decision, they probably weren't very open about what the facts were.
Right. No, I think what happens in terms of with the bigger companies, you really don't know what's going on as much. And only by your participation in the process do you know in relation to the particular um, a person who's interviewing or the circumstances surrounding that person. Whereas with a maybe a smaller organization or an organization that is that's more um, informative, a lot of times you'll know what's happening. But I'm finding, especially in terms of with emailing, in terms of what's going on, you don't really know what's going on, and that's the other thing. It's important to touch base and be finding out. And sometimes it's not something that can be done, and sometimes it is something to be done. But you can't assume anymore. And like everybody else, we we've been in that situation, and you can't assume.
It's interesting because you think about the job search, and again, I guess it really depends on an individual's circumstances. Are they in a current job and they're testing the waters, they're looking for opportunities, etc. Or, is there a sense of desperation, i.e., they need to find work relatively soon? Um, either way, I guess I look at it as the job search, people say should be a priority, right? There's emergencies that happen in life, and then there are priorities. And it would seem to
Right,
me if you're a candidate, and I guess maybe one of the lessons learned or what you're trying to impart here is if you're a candidate for a job, take it as a priority. Find somebody else to pick the kids up and make it to that interview or whatever
right,
whatever the issues are. They should be bubbling up because the message is that prospective job is not waiting around for you. If you have a real strong interest in it, make the time available, make the commitment, whatever that is, to make the connection ASAP.
right,
Don't, yeah.
right. I mean, it's from a recruiter standpoint, it can be very um, I was going to say it can be very disappointing a lot of times because you're doing the best you can with the information you have. And if you're a candidate and it's an opportunity you're very interested, as you say, you want to move on the opportunity to meet with the organization, company, firm as soon as you can, because as you say, it's not going to hold in terms of the process. The process keeps moving forward.
Well, I also think it's another data point in terms of evaluating a candidate. How committed are they? How serious are they? If you're making meetings and you're canceling them on the way in the door, what happens to your commitment level when you're in the door?
Right,
I think it's one of those things that if you're taking a job search seriously and it's a priority for you, make it a priority. And
right,
it's always challenging I hate to always go back to the generational thing, but I think, maybe it's more personality type than generational, but sort of that emphasis or focus on like once you've committed to something, commit to it. Don't keep changing it,
right,
and I think I see sometimes there's a lot more fluidity in today's world,
right,
people are available 1 hour, the next hour they're not.
right,
It's like, what
right,
happened?
right,
So. Good stuff,
right.
Mark. As always, this has been a Mark Z moment with Marc Z president of Mark Z Legal Staffing. Mark, if people want to reach out to you, look for either opportunities, talk to you about opportunities you may have for them, and or going about the interviewing and recruiting process, what is the best way for them to reach you?
Well, first of all, John, go on our wonderful Radio Entrepreneurs website, radioentrepreneurs.com. Google Mark Z, M-A-R-C, and the letter Z. Go to markzlegal.com, M-A-R-C-Z-L-E-G-A-L.com, and 617 338-1300.
Excellent. And we'll be right back with another segment on Radio Entrepreneurs.